Sequels. Everywhere you look, sequels. If there's money to be made, you know they're going to throw a sequel on it. Sometimes it's not even a question of if it's going to get a sequel. They seemingly just become the livelihood of movies. The number one movie in 2024 at this point is going to be Inside Out 2, an animated sequel to a movie that came out 9 years ago. Tim Burton saw that and said, "Hold my laudanum." Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Porterson, and joining me today, his floors are all kinds of funky angles. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
It's showtime.
And if you say his name 3 times, he comes back to the podcast this week. Bruce Leslie, Bruce Leslie, Bruce Leslie.
Hamburger helper. It helps your hamburger. Helper makes a great meal.
And let me tell you, we have been simmering it for the past 15 minutes and letting it get all thick and everything, just like that hamburger helper. Good for you, everybody, because we are back. September is rolling on, and we are on our Michael Keaton series. Last week, we talked about the original 1988 Beetlejuice, and now we are set for the 36-year sequel that you all said was coming for, 36 years at this point, I think?
35.
To be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to happen, but we've made it to this point in the year of our Lord 2024, and somehow we've got this movie. We got the band back together, no less. And so this week we're going to be talking Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, directed by one Tim Burton. And the biggest questions, of course, it's going to be, was it worth the wait? Michael Keaton, is this guy any good in it? These questions and more. It's called a tease, boys. That's professionalism. You're welcome.
Finally.
Yeah, about time we put some of that into this show at some point. You figure 10 years in, we finally throw in a dash of the old professionalism. But yeah, real quick, before we get into stuff, because Bruce, you were out last week and everything, revisit us with your quick little Beetlejuice review and everything of the original so people know where you sit with that one.
You know, I love the original. It's one of those movies that I've watched a bunch. I think I liked it better after a few years went by and it wasn't as obnoxiously quoted and that kind of thing.
Fair.
But I've never gone more than probably 3-4 years at a time without seeing this. So there was no surprises for me. You know, I knew beat for beat everything that happened, but I will tell you, every single time I watch it, no matter how many times I see it, I'm always shocked at how thin Alec Baldwin is when he first shows up on screen.
Isn't he though?
Yeah, so Alec Baldwin, I'm always shocked at the way he looks when he shows up on screen. And then when I remind myself that this predated Batman, I'm just amazed that Tim Burton knew that Michael Keaton could pull this off, because I don't know. I mean, he had good performances, but I don't know if he had anything that showed he could do this. But then again, my memory's not always the best either. But anyway, that's my thoughts. After rewatching it, holds up. And I was curious what you guys were going to say about Jeffrey Jones last week.
You know, fun times. But I will say this, though, with some of that, with the Batman stuff and everything, I didn't mention it during the show, but like you figure they would have been pointing at Alec Baldwin all day long to play Batman, no?
Yeah.
Especially as
he seems like the natural choice.
You worked with him. He's right there.
I feel like he declined. I think before Val Kilmer, he may have gotten the offer. I think him and William both.
I don't know. I don't know all the. Someone needs. Maybe there is one out there. If somebody knows one, let me know about it. But there needs to be a good, 89 Batman documentary and stuff.
Yeah, we need good rumor mill from back in the old days. Back then, the rumor mill was just whatever the kid next door told me. So if he told me that they wanted the Baldwin brothers, I'm like, hey, he's in 7th grade. He probably knows what he's talking about.
He's one of them old kids. He's smart. But yeah, we're going to get into all that and see what happens with this sequel here and everything. But before we do that, we want to say a giant thank you to the people who support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. Dinger Zone this week, we've got our top 5 long-awaited sequels that, we think should get made at some point, maybe, possibly, but probably will never happen. Sometimes for a good reason, though. But we do that for a good 45 minutes over there at the Zinger Zone. So if you like this show and you want a lot more of this content and stuff, and we got Sweet Sean's little spaceships coming up, it's going to be a big old deal. Head on over to patreon.com. I know I was busy. My weekend's been insane. We did get a Patreon member. I will mention you next week. I am so sorry, but we will get back to you, I promise, and we'll get you a little fancy name and all that kind of good stuff. But we thank him and everyone else that goes over to patreon.com/HMP. Join up at any level. If it's $1, it's $1. That's a rounding error. You never notice that's gone from your bank account. Check us out, patreon.com/HMP. Get yourself some more stuff. We really appreciate it. Love you all. Smooches. Or just give us an iTunes review. That's always a good thing over there. Or I think Spotify still has the review system over there. Throw a little couple stars that way. Or email us at halfasspod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get into it, boys. Here's the IMDb plotline for Beetlejuice. As we all know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. After a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return to home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down while her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. This is a screenplay by Alfred Goth and Miles Miller, who their screenwriting team who wrote Showtime, Shanghai Nights, Spider-Man 2, Herbie Fully Loaded, I Am Number 4, Smallville, Into the Badlands, and of course Wednesday. He wrote the story also. Those two guys wrote the story also with Seth Grahame-Smith, who most notably did Lego Batman. And of course, last week, as we talked, the characters by Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson, directed by Tim Burton, tons of stuff, you know him, starring Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, Jenny Ortega, Willem Dafoe, Justin Theroux, I love the rhyming scheme there, Monica Bellucci, Danny DeVito, I guess they put a DEI higher and everything, huh? The ethnic name DeVito like that. And of course, one Michael Keaton. Boys, 36 years, a lot of expectations coming up. What do we have kind of built in ready for this thing? Where were the expectations? Because mine were just, as I said last week, I'm not the biggest of a regular Beetlejuice fan. I think it's a fine movie. I was hoping this was just fine enough. Where was everyone else's expectations?
Mine were probably too high to be cautious, but not to spoil too much, I was not disappointed, but they were probably higher than what it made sense for them to be going into it. I was pretty excited to see Michael Keaton do it again. And like I said, I had just recently rewatched the first one, much like you guys. So I really, really was eager to see more of the Ghost with the Most babe.
Mm-hmm.
As I said last week, I went in trepidatiously. I felt like, because I saw this movie on Thursday, and I walked into the movie theater with my lady, and it was like going to a dentist appointment. It wasn't like I was going to go see a movie, because I was concerned and I wanted things to go well.
This Beetlejuice has gingivitis.
Well, clearly he's got mold on his teeth. But I was when I got to the movie theater and sat down, I was like, okay, here we go. And then the movie rolled.
And that was, so just the little trepidation. I think that was probably, at best, that was my thing. But I was just like, I don't really know how much this is. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and just put it out on the card. I was surprised at how decent I thought this movie was. And for somebody that kind of like really poo-pooed the first bit and everything, I was like, oh, this is... Now, I got a lot of questions and stuff, and we'll kind of go over all that kind of good stuff. But overall, tip of the hat early, not the worst thing, this movie.
I agree.
How do I put this into words? This movie is very good, not great. This movie has very, very good moments. I think that this is one of those sequels where it's surprising that it's good. So like people are giving it a lot more rope than they would another movie.
They're judging it on a different scale, I would offer.
Yes. I enjoyed the movie. I had a very good time walking out. When I walked out, I was smiling. I did not expect what we got here. They use Beetlejuice a lot more than Michael Keaton said they were going to use him. However, it's okay. I thought that he did great. One of the things that I keep seeing when I see reviews for this movie is everybody's like, it's like no time has passed with Michael Keaton. He's given the exact same performance. No, he is not.
He's
Michael Keaton, as I said last week. Michael Keaton, as I said last week, had done a mountain of cocaine before he was Beetlejuice, clearly, because he is on fire in that first movie.
He is. I love it.
I do too. I think his performance is amazing. You can't even hear what he's saying half the time because he's mumbling, and then he shouts, and then he goes back. And I as I said last week with the original Beetlejuice is a Hallmark movie for me. It's one of the movies that like it didn't make me who I am. It made me realize who I was. And so it has a special place for me. Beetlejuice, it doesn't have that same place. It couldn't possibly, but it is really surprising how good it is, because I wouldn't say that I went into it like hiding in the weeds for it, because that's not how I felt. This isn't like going to see the Power Rangers movie where I'm like, I hate this movie with a blinding passion, and I haven't even seen a second of it yet. It wasn't like that. It was more like, please be good. It was more how I felt going into this. And so I think what this movie is lacking that the original Beetlejuice has is there was so much creativity, and there were so many new ideas in the original Beetlejuice that are missing from the sequel. There are some moments that are great, like top tier jokes. There's some jokes in this where I'm laughing out loud so hard my stomach hurt at certain moments. But the movie on a whole, it's not the same, because you can't feel the creative sparks coming off of it like you can with the original Beetlejuice. Now that's not what I was expecting. It is not that kind of movie. This is a sequel to a movie that was one of the most creative movies ever made. That's impossible. That's like trying to make a sequel to Pulp Fiction. Like, don't ever do that. Mm-mm. Why would you ever try?
I should have put that in the dinger zone.
Why would you ever try to? That's a very bad idea. This is more like, let's see these characters, and we do. And I was pleasantly surprised. This movie surprised me. I do like it.
So a couple of things I was thinking about, some of it as you were talking there, and then some of it as I was watching the film yesterday. But the original Beetlejuice is a kind of movie that we all love. I think I'm not speaking out of line to say we all love movies from the 80s that were sort of family friendly. Like, they're not really family friendly, but our parents were checked out enough that they looked family friendly. Everybody in the third grade saw Beetlejuice. You know, it wasn't like something you had to wait till high school.
And sometimes we weren't all uptight about stuff.
And you know, it's got a whorehouse in it. It's got all kinds of pervy stuff. They even call the guy a pervert, you know? So I was worried, would the sequel be sort of family friendly, or are they going to have to push to the modern norms where you're either PG-13 or you're R, and you can't have that sort of like, boy. But I felt like they did keep it sort of family friendly. They still dealt with suicide in a not mostly respectful way. You know, they still didn't pull their punches on a few things in the afterlife. They still dealt with some sexual issues. And, you know, you have Justin Theroux using Lydia Dietz for her money. You know, I think it's sort of family friendly. I was trying to think. I felt like there was some kind of joke about her dead husband being her horny little captain or something too. Like, she said something like that too.
Well, she talked like that in the first movie.
Yeah, but I think she also carried it on here. So I'm saying they didn't soften it, in my opinion, which is the number one thing I was worried about, was them softening it or hardening it. But I felt like they kept the tone pretty consistent. And then to follow up on what I was saying, I feel like it's judged on a different scale, and it's because we've really been burned on the 30-year sequels. Yeah. You know, I don't know that we've enjoyed very many of them. So being good and not bad is great in its own way.
Hey, listen,
yeah, I think that Beetlejuice is more Top Gun Maverick than it is Escape from LA.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that's a great way to put it. I didn't even think about that. But and then another thing I will say though, as far as my criticism of the movie, because I did mostly enjoy it. The part I didn't like, the reason I didn't like it is it's forgettable and easy to overlook. But this movie didn't need a C plot. I really don't think it needed a C plot. My kids agreed with me that they didn't need the C plot. I don't think Monica Bellucci. I think she's her own movie.
Yeah.
There's another movie going on that. Yeah, there's another movie going on that she's kind of like she's the biker who's just kind of in the background revving the engine and stuff like that. So it's, hey, this is coming to get you. That's pretty much all
that felt very much like Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice when Doomsday just shows up at the end and what you thought was going to be a fight between Batman and Superman. But anyway, I think that the A plot and the B plot were plenty on this one. You have Lydia's story and you have Astrid's story, and I think you're fine there without the Monica Bellucci thing. Or you save that for Beetlejuice, which is the name for the third movie is right there.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked them to have either trimmed that plot or done something with it.
Hey, listen, if she's on screen, I'm just all right with it. I'm cool with it. I don't got problems. No complaints.
It feels like it's a setup for something later, is what the Monica Bellucci storyline feels like. Because it's also because it's showing you more of the afterlife with her stuff, and it feels like if and with audience reaction to this movie, it sure seems like they're going to hit it again. That there'll be a third one. That
I don't know. Everything I have heard now, granted, it was before the box office and everything, but everybody was really was hammering home. We're putting a fork in it after this.
Oh, really?
That they were all those people. We'll I mean, from Burton to Keaton, everyone was very emphatic of this is it.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. At least that's what they said. You back up that Brinks truck and things can change.
I'm just going to say it's too obvious with that name.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, the thing made almost $100 million in its opening weekend, which seems impossible, but
these days, yeah.
And I feel like Hollywood has maybe done this to other people before, or maybe I'm just making this up in my head, but looking at Tim Burton's age, they could start saying like, look, either you can make the sequel or as soon as you die, we're going to get somebody else to do it, but we need Beetlejuice. Like something weird like that. At least close it out on your own terms before somebody else runs it.
Well, I mean, listen, he's made some money at least with this one. He's got Wednesday going on. And again, we've been talking about, Tim Burton, obviously the past couple of weeks because he's directed these films and everything. But there's not a ton of time in Hollywood where he hasn't had at least a decent enough amount of pull when you think about it.
Yeah, it's true.
This is all tying up together too, because the stage production my son's working on right now is Big Fish.
You got to be putting me on.
No, I'm not. True. He's the lead in Big Fish, so there is a stage production of that. I'll keep you posted.
Wow, that's crazy. But you're right, Bruce. I think my favorite line of this was Beetlejuice saying, I believe it was Dostoevsky who said, "Later, fucker."
Yeah, that was a good line.
I mean, that's a line in the movie, so that's pretty sweet.
My favorite line comes about 10 minutes later because he's already used the F word in this PG-13 movie. And at the end, when she shows up and he goes, oh, and he literally censors himself.
Oh, yeah.
It
made
funny.
me laugh so hard. There is, let's talk about the things that we really like about this movie before we get into and I know we've already gotten to the Monica Bellucci of it all, but I think we should focus on the good stuff first.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot there. I think, I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't believe how good Winona Ryder was in this.
Yeah, better than she is in Stranger Things, if you ask me.
Far, far better. It was kind of surprising because it seemed like the natural progression. It's like she actually did some work here where it seemed like the natural progression of where that character, how that character behaves later on in life. And she's not slapping you with ham, with her stupid performance like she is in Stranger Things. This is like one of those it's nuanced, which I didn't think Winona Ryder was capable of doing.
I dare say this is the most important role in her career, and maybe she holds some special value to it. And it was important to her to like keep this, pure, because nobody's making a Heather sequel, or are they? I don't know. They're making sequels to everything.
No,
Eater 2, for heaven's sake.
I think she realizes she needed to, she did need to kind of step it up to here, and not for nothing, but like, her career's not just killing. It's just not.
Yeah, but she's like got that Keanu Reeves money where she doesn't have to actually do anything.
I understand.
But I think, I believe I'll take her at face value, because she did do a lot of interviews about how important this character is and how she's thought about her almost every day for 30 some years, and she looks at this as being autobiographical almost. So I believe her that when she says that, I think this might be one of the more important roles to her that she's done lately. But also I do love the kind of the passing of the torch that we're getting yet again with Jenna Ortega getting.
All right, before you go on and praise her, I got to shit on her, because I don't think Winona Ryder did fantastic. I think she did okay.
Oh, you don't, huh? You don't like her performance?
I think there are glimpses. I think there are moments in here where she is really good. I think there are moments in this movie where she is absolutely terrible. There are moments in here where I'm like, especially right at the beginning and stuff. And again, I may need to rewatch that, and we can maybe attribute it to some character things, but I don't think so, because she's acting this way in interviews, quite frankly. There's parts of it where I kind of like I see through, and then there are other parts that come along and sneak out, and I go, oh, there it is, because and we'll snake into it, but seeing somebody opposite with how good Jenna Ortega is at acting and stuff, and how naturalistic everything she is doing in this movie was like what Winona Ryder was doing in the original Beetlejuice. That is not there in this one.
We're about to get into it, buddy. To me, this is probably Winona Ryder's best performance in 20 years, 25 years. I think that she is, she's like I said earlier, she's doing work in this movie. Like you can tell. And I know you're talking about the interview stuff. The interview stuff to me is unwatchable, because she's so Hollywoody in real life that I have a really hard time. I don't
watch them, so it makes it a little easier, I think.
I have a really hard time watching interviews with her, because I know that she didn't grow up in Hollywood. Her parents on purpose left her outside of Hollywood, but she's got that same like Disney Channel kid being interviewed cadence to her voice when she's talking in interviews that makes me insane. And she doesn't have it in the movie.
Yeah.
So I think that when it comes to this role in particular, in this movie in particular, I think that she's doing something she's never really done before. Like, think of just how bad she is in like something like what's it called? Mr. Deeds?
Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Yeah.
What's it called?
Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. I think
Mr. Deeds. Yeah. She is a train wreck in that movie, how bad she is. And I know she's not given a lot. I mean, it's an Adam Sandler movie, for God's sake, but like she's awful in it also. And it just feels like that actress isn't the same actress that's in this movie.
Not for nothing. And again, these are well documented things. Wasn't that her kind of crazy time though, where she was stealing shit and just kind of going cuckoo bananas?
I think that might have been. I don't know. I thought that was a little earlier. Maybe
it's just after. It's just after.
Yeah,
because it's why it worked putting her in that Adam Sandler movie, because it was like. It was kind of like, well, she's a little nuts, so yeah, she might be with Adam Sandler.
I feel like Girl Interrupted was also like addressing like, because she's obviously stealing because of mental health issues. She does not have financial issues, so putting her in Girl Interrupted was her making a mental health movie, which I think was the last time she gave me a good performance.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is it.
But still hasn't stopped working, dude. 70 things on IMDb, man.
She's a known. I mean, when you're a known, you can do whatever you want. I mean, Jesus, the little Asian guy who comes out of the trunk in Kim
Jong. Yeah.
I mean, he's still working, that guy.
And she's in the sweet spot of both 80s and 90s nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
she's going to have a long stretch of being able to make those cameos,
And she's still relatively young, and she still looks great. So she's gonna work forever.
Yeah, she hadn't killed herself to high hell over there with a whole bunch of junk and everything. So I wish she'd stop trying to dress like a teenager and just dress like an adult woman. But other than that, because she I get it, it's probably for the show or whatever with the big thick, it's like, come on now, it seems sad.
That's not.
I do like the idea that Lydia still has the exact same misshapen bangs she had as a child, despite the fact she's now a millionaire. She can't get a decent haircut.
So let's talk a little bit about the style of the movie and everything, because obviously 36 years have gone by here, so we've seen an evolution in Tim Burton's style and everything here. And while this does feel like Beetlejuice in many, many ways and everything, looks like it for sure, it does have a bit of a modern tension twinge to it that perhaps one might not have thought could have been in this movie.
I think, to me, one of the biggest differences is how many exterior shots we get here, because everything's on stage for the first movie in my memory. I mean, you do have just a little bit of them driving and talking to the real estate agent, but I feel like almost everything else happens on, inside shots, probably on a sound stage. This feels so much more open.
Yeah, we're going different places, and there's because we have a whole nother set that a character can't leave.
The shots feel longer to me, They're not claustrophobic. Like, they feel kind of claustrophobic to me in the first one, which is a nice effect. Here, it's like they're going for almost the opposite. Very few shots feel claustrophobic in this one.
For me, the big change in Burton specifically is that he doesn't overdo the CG landscapes like he seems to in every other movie he's made in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Where the town is an actual town. Like, he's shooting on practical, like a practical street. There was a location. There's a location manager on this movie. And so I think one of the neat add-ins in this movie is just seeing how strange the Dietz house actually is in relation to the rest of the town, because when you're on that neighborhood street and you look up and you see the weirdo Dietz house on the hill, it's a great shot, and it really reminds you of oh right, although it's normal for Beetlejuice, is not normal to anyone else in this town. And it's cool.
Can you guys tell me if I'm remembering something that you remember, or if this is like a false memory I've implanted in my head? But I remember from maybe 15 years ago, I feel like I saw it in a magazine. So it was a time when I would still actually pay money for a physical magazine to get movie news. But I feel like I saw a picture of pre-production for a Beetlejuice sequel where they showed the Beetlejuice house draped in black. And I know this thing's been in pre-production for 30 years, basically. And I wonder if that's like an element that stuck around through all the revisions. And maybe that's why we have that tacked on C plot, is because it's been through so many revisions.
The closest they ever came was about 2 years after the original Beetlejuice. They had the script. They were in pre-production for Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. I've read that script. Everybody, thank your deity that they didn't make that movie, because it is awful. That script is so bad. They completely misunderstand who Beetlejuice is and what made that movie fun. And they just were trying to make it basically like the cartoon, quite honestly. They wanted to make it more like the cartoon where Beetlejuice and Lydia are kind of friends, and he's fun and funny and like a cool guy to hang out with. It's just wretched. Wretched.
I will mention, since you mentioned it there, and I said I was going to do it last week, and I did. I watched the 3 little Beetlejuice bits that they've got on the special features when you buy Beetlejuice.
The animated cartoon?
No, the animated cartoon.
Yes.
I will say this, and I can't believe somebody hasn't done it, and maybe it's just Tim Burton need to start, cracking some skulls over there or something. That show needs to be remastered, because you see all just the interlacing and everything, and you're just like, man, if they would have actually scanned this, it might look halfway decent. I liked it more than I remembered liking it the first time that I kind of rewatched again, and I thought I might have been huffing paint or something like that.
Man, it got a couple of seasons.
Better than
It was
that.
a fun show. I watched it, even though I was too old to be watching it.
Yeah, and like the jokes are a little bit old, they're a little outdated. It's clearly done by guys that have been in the animation business for 30 years and are kind of recycling a lot of the same kind of shtick and stuff. And it's like a little bit of that going on and stuff. But like the ideas and the visual aspect of it and everything, I can't knock it, man. It's a great job. And when you throw in, Elfman's score and Burton's a producer and consultant and stuff on it, so. I got no problems.
How do you guys like the way they solved the conundrum that's presented by Jeffrey Jones and their desire to use the original cast?
Boy, oh boy, I did again because I knew nothing going in, and I was like, at first you think this is going to be just this great little easy throwaway angle here that we can kind of just be like, oh, by the way, he's gone, so sorry, and then we go over to, and no, it's a central plot to the entire thing.
It's great.
And
It's
the
great.
worst part, the best part is it works.
Yeah,
and it feels
totally
kind of ballsy to me in some way. Like I don't know exactly how. It's like you're daring both people who love and hate Jeffrey Jones to come at you.
It's true. And one of the things that's so wonderful about that whole plot line is little clay animation Jeffrey Jones is so cute. It's such a cute animation. And it just makes you go, you know what? I could deal with more of this. I could see more of this. It's amazing. It's amazing that the character is in the movie for as long as the character's in the movie for.
It's an astounding long time.
Definitely, Mr. Dietz is in the movie far longer than Beetlejuice is in the original movie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
I love it that it's even like a happy reunion at the end with Catherine O'Hara. She's not even concerned about his lack of a head. He makes friends with the surfer who had his bottom half bit off. I love everything about it.
And because you just name checked her, we got to get to her. So Catherine O'Hara, is she the funniest person in the world?
I'll say she's the world's funniest Nepo baby.
Who is she a Nepo baby of?
Her mother's Maureen O'Hara.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
from all
that.
the John Wayne movies.
Yeah. I know who you mean. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. And John Candy's mom. She's in that too, right?
She's in John Candy's mom.
She's John Candy's mom in Only the Lonely.
I haven't seen that one.
I think
I
that's
like
her.
that idea.
I think that's her. Anyway, I did not realize that she was her kid. Catherine O'Hara, I noticed this in the theater. Every time she said something, the audience would laugh. Literally every single time. And if we're talking about characters where they continue on something that they've built before, having Lydia and Catherine O'Hara's character, Delia, that's her name, Delia, and having Delia have the relationship they have, and it doesn't betray the characters from the previous movie, but they're family now, they're like close now. Having that work so well, and still having her be just as batshit crazy as she was in the first one. It's just that she's like insanely successful with her dumb art. Like all of that stuff.
I love it.
The fact that they kept all of that in there. And Catherine O'Hara, who's probably in her mid 60s, if not 70.
She's 70, man.
She's got to be at least 70.
Coming off the top rope, absolutely destroying, being one of the linchpins of this movie where one of the reasons why I saw this movie on Thursday was because I knew nothing about Beetlejuice going into it. Yeah. And I saw a poster, and she was on the poster on Wednesday, and she was on the poster, and I was like, damn it, I wish I wouldn't have known that. Like, I wish I wouldn't have known she's in the movie. Now that's been ruined for me.
She's probably the best ever at playing the world's almost but not quite worst mom.
Man, she is.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
Character.
That does seem to be her sweet spot.
She's not the worst, but just a borderline. It's just like, you know what?
Damn close.
If you were
Home
any
Alone,
worse,
Schitt's
DSS
Creek.
would take them away.
Honorable mention.
But I also, talk about being surprised. I had no idea that Willem Dafoe was going to be in this. I had no idea that Danny DeVito was going to be in it. So I had a lot of fun surprises. And Willem Dafoe's not just.
Well, hold on a second. Let's go back to Catherine O'Hara for a second.
I'm sorry. Please do.
We really need to talk about her she is the secret sauce to this movie. She is really she is the engine that makes this movie work so as well as it does, because every choice she makes in this thing is perfect. There isn't a moment where she's on screen that doesn't make the movie a little better simply by her being in the scene. I think that even when it comes to something as dumb as she wants to do like an art installation of her screaming for her husband's funeral, like
yes.
Just stuff like that, where like that is a great idea. That is a weird idea. That is an old 30 years ago Tim Burton idea.
But it's right in line with what we would know this character to do. This artsy fartsy, weirdo who's trying to process her grief in whatever way that she knows, but the way that she knows isn't just like, going on a cruise or getting some mental health or something, like whatever it is. Hers is, I need to have some sort of wild, crazy, outlandish, arty bullcrap thing that goes on to
see if we can
express
start a rumor,
how I
if we
feel.
can start a celebrity rumor here from scratch.
All right.
I say we start the rumor that all of her character traits are based on Helena Bonham Carter.
Listen, don't bring her into this. You're going to get somebody sued over here. The Tim Burton camp is very much on it. Don't be saying nothing.
Do you think that Catherine O'Hara, was she hard to get for this movie? Or do you think that she immediately was just like, absolutely, I'm all in on this?
I think she's a game player.
I think if she wasn't all in, she's probably not doing it. I mean, she's closer to her last cup of coffee than her first, so she's probably not worrying that much about, being able to get a Ferrari or something.
She is amazing. She is so amazing in this movie. Like it put me in awe a little bit, because when you think of the class that she came up with on SCTV, yes, Eugene Levy is still amazing. Rick Moranis, even though he hasn't been around for 40 years, like he's great too, probably. But everybody who was on SNL during that time, everybody who's in Second City at that time, no one is putting in the performances at this age that she is.
Oh no, not at this age.
It's amazing. It's just amazing how good she is in this movie. I was blown away. Are you
saying that her legacy has surpassed that of Jane Curtin?
I am. Yeah. I am saying.
Oh, I'd say that.
I take it you are not a Kate and Alley fan, my friend.
Well, I would say to you that Kate and Alley hasn't aired in 35 years.
Touche.
I would say to you that the kid from that movie showed up in another movie, and I couldn't believe that he was in something else. And I was like, holy crap, that's the kid from Kate and Alley as an adult man.
I think one of the reasons why she's as good as she is, and probably was game to go back here into this, is, and I think this again comes from like you said, working in sketch and with guests and stuff like that, where character is important, and living and embodying inside of a character is something that this woman does on a very regular basis and does really well. So I think her going, hey, I'm going back to this character that I've kind of already established in everything, and getting to kind of play around in that skin a little bit more. I couldn't imagine she wouldn't be happy and excited to do that.
That's what I think too. I think that she probably once she heard that Keaton, because you have to sign Keaton. You don't make this movie if you don't have Keaton on already. So the second she learns that Keaton's on, she's probably like, absolutely, sign me up.
And I bet she's eager to work with Burton again too. I think some people enjoy him. But I was just sitting there thinking that what they should have done in Hillbilly Elegy is, instead of Glenn Close, they should have cast Catherine O'Hara as the grandmother.
Well, it would have been. I mean, she would have been far goofier though.
Yeah,
you're
Close
right.
was good. Close
right.
was so good though in that movie.
She was. That's probably why I was being facetious and all.
To get back to something you were saying earlier, though, to say something negative about the movie. Jenna Ortega, I get the appeal. I get that she's a cute girl. I get that she has that standoffishness that makes her seem prickly. Like, I get all of those things. I don't dig her. I don't think she's great. I think that she's constantly playing the exact same person in everything she's been in. And that's not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I have trouble with her whenever there's more to the movie that she's in, like that requires more of her than just that like sort of like loathing you without saying words stare that she has.
Angsty.
I feel like we're in a world where the trajectory she's on now is she's always going to be a younger version of someone else, or a lesser version of someone else, or an imitation of someone else. And I don't know that we've ever seen her be her own quote unquote person yet. And maybe she will mature into that, and maybe she won't. She does have something that's probably part blessing and part curse when it comes to being cast. But no matter how old she is, she still looks like a kid. Like she's like 23, 24 now, right? She could play 15 still. So, she's always going to be able to get that plethora of high school roles and stuff that are out there. But there might be a point where she like is suddenly can't play those anymore, but she never learned how to play something older. And then she's got, the Jenny Garth conundrum.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out. I think she's got a great launching ground to be a celebrity. I don't think she's ever going to win an Oscar, like you say, for being a great actor, but she's really good at filling a niche because there's always this need for a not too threatening goth girl. It's like the torch goes from Lydia Dietz to Wednesday Addams, Christina Ricci to Wednesday Addams, Jenna Ortega. And, you got her with Christina Ricci playing Wednesday to get the torch passed there. Then we get her here with Lydia to get the torch passed a second time because to the astute Addams Family fan, that in the old television show, Wednesday was just a cute little girl. She wasn't particularly morbid or goth. Right. And when Christina Ricci played Wednesday Addams, the director said, here, watch Beetlejuice. You're going to do an impression of Lydia because that's how we want you to be as Wednesday. And then, of course, that is what informed Jenna Ortega, and a bajillion little girls around the world love that character archetype. So there's always going to be work for Jenna Ortega until she's about 35 and the next girl with black hair and a dead face stare comes along.
Wow.
True. But right now, she's always going to be the person who's doing the thing with Aubrey Plaza, where it's like, I don't know why they put us together, or doing the thing with Christina Ricci, or doing the thing with Winona Ryder, but she's never going to really be doing her own thing. And she's like, got this weird thing where she's attractive, but she also feels like you're not supposed to think she's attractive because she looks young, but then again, she's not so young. But, there's that whole thing in X that freaked a lot of people out, Adam. You know what I'm talking about? So she's also kind of stuck in a conundrum there because she's probably stuck between perverts and non-perverts as to what to do, because she can't get the casual moviegoer to accept her as an adult.
Listen, I want all these ladies to know that I'm in their corner. I'm not like the rest of these a-holes who are over here just talking mad shit. I don't understand it. I think Jenny Ortega is actually a fantastic actress. I think she's the most naturalistic actor in this entire movie.
A naturalistic actor in Beetlejuice.
Yeah, which is weird, and I know, but it's the only thing that kind of helps actually keep this thing a little bit grounded and it gives it some sense of reality. And against characters that are as wild and crazy as Lydia and Delia are, you need something that goes a little bit more and is not as insane.
You are right about that. You do need somebody a little more grounded, because we had two fairly grounded characters in the first movie that are now gone.
Yeah. And did you like how we just thank you for smoking our bullshit way out of that one? They're just like, we found a loophole. Shut up.
I mean, you're not getting those two back for that role. You're just not.
And also, I mean, the beauty of that first movie is the only normal characters were the ghosts.
Right.
And nobody even I won't say nobody. I'm sure some people have noticed that, but as a person who's talked to thousands of people about how they love Beetlejuice, nobody ever points out that the conceit of it is that the ghosts are the normal people and it's the humans that are the weirdos.
Right.
And they even pointed out by hiring a bioexorcist and the shoes on the other foot. But it seems like a lot of people miss that because it's just such a darn fun and funny movie. You don't need to talk about themes when you talk about it. But that's kind of missing here.
A little bit. And also, Jenna Ortega, however you feel about her, she ain't Gina Davis. Like, she's never going to be Gina Davis. Gina Davis is so awesome.
Listen, you put two Jenny Ortegas on top of each other, they'll be as tall as a Gina Davis.
And you put them in a Gina, and you put them in a Gina Davis trench coat, maybe.
Yeah, at least it'll be right height.
But for me, the thing that really showcases that Jenna Ortega isn't great with roles that are multifaceted is that when the twist happens in this movie, and it is terrific. I don't know about you guys, but like I figured it out like maybe like 30 seconds before they dropped what was happening. I did not understand what was like. I didn't get where that plot line was going until I got it.
Yeah.
And I got it just before you learned. And I turned to Lindsay and I was like, oh my God, he's dead. And then when you learn that, oh, he's not only dead, he's also really the bad guy of the movie. Like when you learn both of those things, it is such a great plot device in this movie that because I don't know about you guys, but I thought they were just setting up the wedding with Justin Theroux, and then Beetlejuice was going to show up, and his bride and his ex-wife was going to show up, like all of that stuff.
Yeah,
I thought all of that was going to happen. I did not see that real great twister happening, and so when it shows up and they nail it, they just nail it, and you're like, holy crap! Imagine if there was an actress in the Jenna Ortega part, the Astrid part, who you immediately feel for and you feel the danger for, that Jenna Ortega is not capable of pulling off.
Oh man, I disagree a little bit there because there's something beyond the performance. I mean, like her general aura, to borrow a term from anime, you feel like you must protect her. So I did feel like because even though she's an adult, she looks like a child. So you have those paternal.
She's a petite little person.
Yeah, so I feel like just by her physical stature, I did feel the danger that she had, but it wasn't because of the subtleties of her performance, which, much like any other high school kid, they don't realize that they're in trouble when they really are, but they think they really are when they're not.
All right, well, let's talk about real subtlety in the character of Wolf Jackson by Willem Dafoe. Talk about...
I love that I didn't know he was in it. I mean, that was just the biggest joy for me.
Well, at least, like, I didn't either. Saw the name in the credits in the opening, and I'm like, Willem Dafoe is in this movie? I didn't think he'd be a brain hanging out of his head detective.
And then when the corpse bride started walking, I'm like, is this a Poor Things reference? Am I going to see, is there some connection here? But there's not. But boy, I tried to force that one for a few minutes in my brain.
I really like Willem Dafoe in this movie, although they're right on the edge of making him like Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive. They come so close to that edge.
Almost says the line, for Christ's sakes,
I know. And it made me, for a second, just a brief second, I was like, oh, they're going to Tommy Lee Jones on this. They're going to Tommy Lee Jones.
But with like the half of the head hanging out there and everything, the lighting that they've got on him, his costuming and stuff, it's indicative.
Well, not only that, but he's also, I mean,
hamming it.
He's also, he's also just great.
He's on flat cocaine.
He's not even a real detective.
I know. I love the Hollywood
detective.
bent. Yeah, I love the Hollywood like inside baseball bend to it. That he's an actor who played a detective, and that's who they decide is most qualified in the afterlife to be a detective.
So
let
great,
him go
man.
with it. I like his secretary there and everything, who's just always just happy.
Oh, can we talk about that too? Is the lighting in this movie is amazing. It really kind of blew me away because I did not think that Tim Burton had that gear anymore, and I know that he really leans on his cinematographers for that.
Yeah,
but he just let his cinematographer go ham, which is great because he kind of needed to make it look as, for lack of a better term, Beetlejuicy as it did originally, because he just doesn't have that gear in himself anymore. And so the fact that he got a really good one, I can't pronounce the guy's name, but he is the guy who shot the Death on the Nile, and
Oh, it's such a beautiful movie, whether you like the story or not.
right, and like man, he's done a lot of trash though. He did
Good looking
Meg
trash.
2, Meg 2, The Trench. I mean, Artemis Fowl. Wow, he is.
Boy, Artemis
again, they
Fowl.
look good.
Boy, oh boy.
He has worked on some bad movies that happen to look great because he worked on them.
I was going to say he's not writing the things.
No, I know. And it's kind of, you know, like I like that they're using a lot of they're using a lot of the Tales from the Crypt lighting in this movie. I think that adds to it so much, especially when you're in Beetlejuice's office.
Yeah.
They're using a lot of that green lighting and red lighting, and it's just so terrific.
I don't know if you call them Dutch angles or whatever, like the off-center angles with the camera. Very Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and it just adds to the Beetlejuice-ness of the movie. And I think that there's way more to recommend about this movie than there is to damn it, which is why I think I like it as much as I do. I didn't expect it. It's funny. It's still weird as hell. Michael Keaton is just so goddamn amazing in this movie. Man, he's great in this movie.
Yes, he is.
Oh,
like I was kind of surprised with that. I mean, he's not a disgusting sex pervert like he is in the first one. I mean, he is really, really like damn near on the line in that movie.
He's
in the
over
first
the
one.
line. He's over the line in that first one. That's why we loved him.
But in the second one, I think because he's older and the actor himself is like not so cool coming from a damn near 80-year-old man. What is he, 70 something?
Yeah,
versus the late 30s, early 40s version of Michael Keaton, you know? Like he kind of got that part.
Even the franchise owners have had to address that in the stage show. I've seen the stage show. I didn't see the one in Denver, but I did see the stage show. And he even says a part like, look, we got to be clear. This wedding's all just for legal purposes. I do not expect to do any, you know what, with you know who. Like he has to come right up and make that clear.
I see. So, you know, and while we're talking about that, right? While we're talking about the Michael Keaton-ness, Beetlejuice-ness of it all, you know, they were never going to recreate the Banana Boat song.
Oh, that was my next topic. I love it. You're transitioning inside my mind, Sean. You better be worried.
From the first movie, right? Like they know that. They know going into it, listen, we can't use some other Harry Belafonte music and just do the same thing, a la your Blues Brothers 2000, where instead of using Think, which was a lesser known Aretha Franklin song, we're just going to use Respect because that's a bigger Aretha Franklin song. They understand that is not the way to go with this movie. So when they're telling the story of Beetlejuice with his wife, and Adam, I don't know if you remember this, but even last week I said to you, I do not want to know what he looked like when he was a human. I don't want to know anything about him when he was a human being. And they gave it to us anyway, but they gave it to us in a way that was so damn funny that I didn't care that he sang the whole thing in Italian. And it's just the best.
Hey, listen,
I do love the way they address that.
And I'm glad people
found a way to make it feel less info dumpy.
Glad they didn't roll into the meme of, you know, here's what Beetlejuice looked like when he was alive, and they would show a picture of Pete Davidson. Thought that was funny, but I was just like, thank God we didn't roll into it.
I do hate it because I always hung to the idea that Beetlejuice was never human. He's just an entity, like a demon of some sort.
Right.
But I like the idea of what is he? Well, he's a Beetlejuice. So what else can he be? He's a cosmic entity. But, you know, they made him a grave digger during the grave robber, not a grave digger, but a grave robber in the worst time to be a grave robber in the Black Plague. And of course he falls. He is not at all suspicious that this gorgeous, absolutely drop dead, gorgeous woman wants to marry his chubby looking butt.
So good.
Which, by the way, I mentioned it last week in how in the Beetlejuice cartoon and everything, they made Beetlejuice look far more dumpy and everything. And I was I looked back at the movie and I was like, well, he's kind of svelte and everything. I don't understand. And in this movie, he now looks like the Beetlejuice of the cartoon. He's got a little paunch on him and everything. He looks old and beaten down, but not in the worst way. He looked like good enough. It works.
I think that's a fake belly he's got on too.
Oh, I don't think he's that big. Yeah,
I was going to say he went from wearing a fake belly to wearing a girdle, but I think it's a fake belly in both.
Yeah, I think it's a fake belly.
But yeah, it looks super beat down and everything. But again, we're rolling it with that makes sense with the character, so it works.
Yeah. Yes, and we haven't even talked about him yet. Justin Theroux in the movie. Justin Theroux is so good in this role, and I've had to deal with people like him in my real life so often that I could not wait for him to get his in this movie. I hate him so much in this movie. And it seems like Justin Theroux kind of loves roles like this.
Oh yeah, he's a D-bag kind of role taking kind of guy.
Where he loves playing the worst character in the movie.
And they did a good job of making him not look attractive because he is in real life quite the handsome guy.
Yes, he is. Exceptionally handsome man.
And a great writer. He wrote Iron Man 2, I believe.
He sure did, and he killed it. Good job, Justin Theroux.
Hey, listen, when you're with Jennifer Aniston, the world's your oyster at that time.
Man. And you thought that was a big enough oyster being with Jennifer Aniston. No. In a lifelong acting career. No. You also can write. That is unfair.
Turd.
That's too much.
Get out of here.
But he's great in this, and I literally turned to Lindsay at one point and I was like, I cannot wait for this guy to get his. I cannot wait for Beetlejuice to take this guy out. I could not wait.
It's like professional wrestling. Like they break it down to the basic emotions where you've got the heel and you're waiting to see him get what's coming to him. Yeah. And it still works. No matter how sophisticated you get, the old wrestling heel that's over the top, twirling the mustache, you're always happy to see him get his in the end.
Yeah. So good.
Do you guys think that there's a song and dance kind of way to how Tim Burton and Danny DeVito work together? Do you guys say, they'd be like, hey, Danny, I got a little small bit for you. And Danny's like, no, thank you. I think I'm okay. You'll be green and blue and disgusting and have all kinds of crap flowing out of it. He's like, well,
know how to sweeten the deal.
When do I
you
show
get to
up?
drink Drano?
Oh my God. All right. When do I get to show up? What time? What's my call? Am I first on the sheet for that day? That's all I care about. Give me the first on the sheet for that day. Just that day. Come on. He wants to feel big. All right. Well, let's ask this question again. This movie, I think the answer is for sure that you can't, but could anybody else fill the role of Michael Keaton here? Could someone jump in and save this thing? Okay. I think Sean answered it earlier, but my goodness.
Here is the thing that Hollywood may have tried to make happen, and that would be the Jim Carrey Beetlejuice if you adjust this thing by a few years.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
What is the mask if not Beetlejuice?
Yeah. And the thing is, the Jim Carrey Beetlejuice works. It's not this movie. It's not something I want instead of this movie, but it's still a movie I would have said, that was fun.
Here's the thing. Jim Carrey's Beetlejuice could go more towards the cartoon where a lot of non sequiturs and acting out in like different costumes and all kinds of crazy stuff, because that's what they, because it's animated. You can easily do all that stuff on a very, very regular basis and everything. And that would be, that'd be up Jim Carrey's alley in that kind of mask sort of sense. So I could see
one of the movie trailers that I got before this movie is Sonic 3.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey is back in those movies, and I think that's the way to go with him now. Like, get as big as you want. Like I think he's so great in Lemony Snicket. You know what? That's one of the movies that we should do a sequel that I should have put on my list.
Yeah,
he's so good in that movie, and they just let him go and go and go. And when you let him do that, he's the best part of your movie if that's the style your movie is. So like. With the Sonic movies, they know oh, Jim Carrey is our money. Like Sonic is Sonic, but Jim Carrey is really for the adults.
Yeah.
And watching the movie with their kids. And
Damn it, I'm a Marsden man.
I could totally see him playing Beetlejuice. I totally could see him playing Beetlejuice, but
now
it wouldn't be the same. It would be I don't know if it would be worse, but it would definitely be different.
It would depend on, I would say, do you think Ace Ventura is worse than Beetlejuice? I do, but not everybody does. So that's
you just broke my brain a little bit. I don't think of Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura anymore, though. I think of him more as like The Mask and as the Lemony Snicket guy, and the guy who's in the guy who's in Sonic, and the guy who is in the second Kick-Ass movie. You know, we're like, he is going full. He's the best
guy in the
part of that
Kick-Ass movie is my favorite Jim Carrey performance, but that's because I'm a weirdo. But that is my favorite Jim Carrey.
He is the best part in that movie.
Now, do you guys know that the studio had someone else attached to this project, and Tim Burton vetoed it and brought Keaton in
to this project?
For the sequel to Beetlejuice?
No, for Beetlejuice.
Oh,
like the original Beetlejuice, it wasn't going to be Michael Keaton.
No, you got it backwards because Tim Burton wanted Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes, but then he decided he wanted Michael Keaton.
No, the studio said there's absolutely no way we're giving you $10 million to make a movie that stars Sammy Davis Jr.
Come on, baby, I'm going straight to the top.
Exactly, just like I said, Tim Burton wanted Sammy Davis Jr. and the studios overturned it.
Right.
What a real launch Sammy's career, damn it.
Picture this with Beetlejuice having a glass eye.
Well, you know, as I said last week on the show, to me, Sammy Davis Jr., I mean, when Beetlejuice comes out, the original Beetlejuice, Sammy Davis Jr., because I am kind of the core audience for Beetlejuice at that time. To me, Sammy Davis Jr. was that weird old guy who held the golf tournament 2 towns over from me. Yes. That seemed drunk all the time and had a weird eye. Like that's who I knew him as. So I can't even imagine him as. It's not even the same movie, not even remotely.
To me, he seemed like an occasional guest on Johnny Carson. Like that be my entire context at that point. But Robin Williams, I mean, that's the obvious choice. He's it's peak Robin Williams era too. He's the manic performer.
Yeah.
You guys know my stance on Robin Williams. I don't want to speak ill of the dead.
Hey, listen, all he could do is he could steal half of Michael Keaton's act to be fine.
I think he would have given us a very Genie from Aladdin version.
Yes. Yes.
And again,
he
that's
would need
very
Michael
much
Keaton to perform it first, and then he would do Beetlejuice.
I was surprised, and again, I remember it being much different, but rewatching and stuff, the Beetlejuice in the cartoon is pretty much doing Keaton for the most part.
Really?
Or at least a variation of that. Like he's trying to kind of sound like the Beetlejuice character for better or for worse. I think it's pretty good.
Like all of he's like he speaks like him too.
Oh yeah.
But like Robin Williams is Beetlejuice in the middle of a conversation for some reason and say, "Oh look, I'm a Scottish woman trying to buy bacon in Chicago," and then he would do his little skit, and then he's like, "Oh no, I'm a captain of a deep sea vessel." I mean, it would not be focused on any kind of plot.
No,
well, that also, I mean, he would go to the gay voice and he would go to the black voice.
A lot of costume changes.
Yeah, or the gay black voice.
Yes.
Never lost with that one.
All right, I don't know what you've heard, but movies only come in 2 forms, art or fart. Bruce, Beetlejuice, art or fart for you, sir?
Well, definitely not a fart. So, I guess it's pop art. It's pulp art. It's common art. It's not high art, but it's art. It's not fart. Right. I had a good time.
A little slight art there. Sean?
For me, it is also art. But it's not capital A art, to follow along Bruce's thinking. It's good, not great. You know what this movie's going to do? This movie is going to do very well, right? Especially because the part that we're not thinking about is that Halloween is in 2 months, like a month and a half.
Yeah.
And this movie is going to track very well just because they put it out when they put it out.
Yeah.
And that first week was really the big tester. And since it's already almost made $100 million, this movie is going to make a ton of money. So what's going to end up happening is that there is a generation of people who brought their kids to see Beetlejuice, who might have already seen Beetlejuice and just don't remember it, but their parents want to see it, so they take their kids to go see it. So they're watching this movie. They're going to be watching. Well, kids don't watch movies anymore, but there's going to be the art kids. The art kids will have watched Beetlejuice.
Yes.
And so then 15 years from now, whatever the equivalent to YouTube is, movie discussion is, there's going to be the discussion 15 years from now of, you know what's an overlooked movie that is a hidden classic? Beetlejuice. That is absolutely going to happen. And this is one of those movies that it's never going to be anyone's favorite movie. Well, there'll be weird kids where it's their favorite movie. I know a guy whose favorite comic book character is the Blob. But like but for the most part, this is going to be an overlooked through time movie until it isn't. And it's going to be, it's going to have a resurgence just like the first one did.
Can't wait for that other kid to go, underseen classic. It made $100 million in its opening weekend, you piece of garbage. And adjusted for inflation.
Is that how you're going to be talking 15 years from now?
Hell yeah. Not me, somebody.
I'll just say, there are plenty of young fans, because as a gift to Silas, we took him to Los Angeles to see the stage production last summer. Not this summer, but the one before. Then he was a Beetlejuice for Halloween, and his date was Lydia last year. And now he is all primed to play Beetlejuice in a Beetlejuice-themed show choir performance at the high school. And then in children's community theater, they're doing the Beetlejuice stage production, where it looks like he's probably going to be Beetlejuice if he wants to be.
Oh, man, you know what?
He loves Beetlejuice.
I totally forgot to mention the best part of seeing this movie is that there was a family of 4 that was seated like 3 or 4 seats down from us, that were all dressed as Beetlejuice.
I love it.
It was so great. It was so great. And I even stopped while they were walking out. I said, "You guys look great." And they were like, "Thank you." It was just the best.
Beetlejuice and the Addams Family is like perfect for those kids and kids at heart who like to think they're goth, but they get kind of squeamish around blood.
Yeah.
Like, that. And I'm not throwing that out there as an insult. I mean, there's like a sweet goth, and then there's like a dark goth, and I get it. Not everybody's used to plucking the eyeballs out of a living person's skull like I am.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
But it's great for those people that like things to be kind of dark and spooky, but they don't really want anyone to have psychological problems.
Right.
I had 6 old ladies behind me that I wouldn't tell to shut up. I told these ladies I didn't, but I wanted to. And while they were all in their 50s, and I just wanted to be like, listen, if y'all don't shut up.
What do you think of this, Adam Portress? What if I said Art the Clown is just Wednesday Addams for boys?
That seems right. For me, this is just last week. If you'll remember, I rated the original Beetlejuice as just a slight fart, little toot, a little something out there for you. This one, though, surprisingly, I liked it. I thought it gave me a little bit more of kind of what I wanted. I liked the style of it. I don't know why I thought of Sean, but like when he dies and everything, and we cover the house in the black shroud and everything. Just fantastic.
Man, look, man, I love a good set dressing joke. It's one of my favorite type of jokes.
We're going to shroud the entire house. I'm like, that's beautiful. It's so good.
It's called a house veil. So funny. So funny.
And this felt like Tim Burton kind of pushing on all his buttons and everything. We've got real sets and stuff. It's not like your Alice in Wonderland where 89% of it is just CGI bullcrap and everything. We really
Dumbo.
made things, We did
or
stuff.
Your Dumbo.
I didn't watch that one, so I couldn't tell you. But it's there. It feels like we're putting forth some effort here, and that this little thing actually meant something to him, and I think that certainly shows on screen.
So you heard it here first, guys. Adam Portress thinks that Beetlejuice is better than the original Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I think I agree with me. That is it, everybody. We got
cut that. That is a soundbite. We have to absolutely use that as a soundbite.
I think I agree with me.
Put a marker there, Adam. You absolutely need to use that as a soundbite.
I think there's a little button on here, but I don't know where to push it. That's it, everybody. We got 2 of our Michael Keaton weeks out over here, but I'll tell you what, we got a couple more of them left on this month here. We'll talk about that in just a second. Sean, where can other people find stuff that we do on the internet?
You know, we have got a new Patreon show coming out so soon. I know you've heard about it forever. It is so soon. The wait, I don't want to say is worth it, but I do sweat and beat myself up in order to make a what I feel is an okay show. And that is called Chauncey Likes Spaceships. It's coming out very, very soon. And also this week, I started a YouTube channel, which is about my new hobby that has nothing to do with what we do on this show or any other nonsense. It is my hobby where I love e-scooters now. That is
this is so cool.
My new hobby, and I occasionally take my GoPro with me when I go, and I.
You want to tease the town streets that people may be seeing, or you want to keep it a secret?
Well, Vancouver is the first 2, and the third one, which premieres Saturday, is Atlanta on the Michelle Obama Trail.
I can't wait till we get to the point where he's putting his tour stops in.
I want it to be like Forrest Gump, where everywhere you go, you got like this weird group of followers.
You know, I don't think that's ever going to happen with this channel, because it's just so chill, and it's something to have on in the background, and like you just hear the ambient noises of me being on the scooter, and I edit out whenever Lindsay or I curse at each other.
I was about to say all the cursing's taken out, unfortunately.
That's no good.
But you can tell there's a couple moments in there when you're like, whenever you see like an abrupt 5-second skip, you know something really messed up. I'm kidding, of course.
Well, a lot of it also because, you know, we're in like one of the most beautiful parts of the world at certain points is just me living life. And so like we get off the scooters for a while, we're conversing and stuff. And so I shut off the camera or edit that part out.
Like I took the smoke break out of the film. All right, fine.
I don't smoke on the scooter.
I've got a GoPro that I think I only got 2 shots in my werewolf movie with. I need to put it to good use, man. Maybe you'll inspire me. Go hiking or something.
I can't believe how user friendly that camera is. Like it is the easiest piece of technology I've ever had to use. It took me longer, as I told Adam last week, it took me longer to figure out how to strap it to my chest harness than to use it.
Drop it in your mama's purse and find out what happens later. All right, everybody, that is it. We are covered. Next week, we're coming back for yet another Michael Keaton film, and Bruce has one up on the block for us. Bruce, what are we covering next week?
Mr. Mom. I remember thinking that was a hilarious film, and I have not seen it in 40 years.
All right, so we will be jumping back to Mr. Mom. That is currently available on Tubi, so we'll check that out next week, everybody. For Bruce Leslie, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, I'm Anna Portress, reminding you that the only difference between art and fart is an F.